Yo, welcome to another edition of the Roundball Ramble podcast. I'm your host, Corban Ford. You can follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA. Sports Ethos presentation. So check out Sports Ethos on Twitter at Sports Ethos, online, sportsethos.com. It's playoff season, y'all. If you've told by the last couple episodes, we've been leading up to this with thoughts on the playing game and just where we've been and looking into the playoffs. But now it is time to preview the playoffs, and I'm excited to have none other than good friend, fellow Laker fan, NBA analyst. You can find him on Lakers Nation. If you follow baseball, you can find him working with the Dodgers as well. Follow him on Twitter at Ron Gutterman 24. It's Ron Gutterman. Sir, how are you today?
Doing great. I am ready for playoff basketball. It was weird with no games at all on Thursday today.
Yes, it was. I felt like something was missing, and it was basketball. So, yeah, I'm with you. Totally was.
Yep.
It's been crazy. But, no, we have that to look forward to now coming up, in a couple hours, honestly. By the time people listen to this. Yeah, exactly. So, let's kind of get to previewing. And I guess the first one I want to do, let's start with, I want to kind of get some of the easier ones out the way. And by easier, I mean, listen, no disrespect to any of the matchups here, but some of these teams are going against teams that are significantly better, and they're probably going to go out with the dustpan or a little bit of a fight. And that's okay. You made the playoffs. That's in the play-in tournament and everything. That's an achievement, you know? With that being said, let's start in Philadelphia, where the Brooklyn Nets will be playing the Philadelphia 76ers. And also, I want to let everyone know right now, we're just doing the ones. I'll probably Ron back. Actually, I'll just ask Ron. Ron, we'll talk about whether the Bucks. I'll get it out the way right now. Bucks and Celtics facing the. Let's do that first. Facing the winners of the play-in tournament matchups, right? Do you like the Celtics against the Hawks?
Yeah, I like the Celtics against the Hawks. I don't think, no disrespect to the Hawks.
No.
They're not going to be able to do to the Celtics what they did to the Heat, which was physically overwhelm them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be able to do that to the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are way too tough. They rebound the ball really well. They defend extremely well. And their offense is, worlds better than what the Miami Heat have to offer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that being, the Hawks might get one game where Trae Young just goes crazy. I could see a world where he puts up a high 30, low 40s game in game 3 or 4 in Atlanta, and it's a big moment. But I don't see the Celtics dropping more than one game. I have Celtics in 5 there.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you on that. I have them at the same. I figured let's get those out the way first. The Boston-Philadelphia matchup it's about the same in my opinion, but before we even get there, one more to ask you about, and that's, do you like the Bucks odds against whoever's coming out of tonight's play-in game?
Yeah, Bulls Heat. That is a fascinating game in the fact that they're both so average. I don't know who to go for.
Yeah.
I see the Heat winning that game mainly because, as much as it would maybe behoove the Heat to fall into the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a world like the Heat. We know about Heat culture and we always talk about it, and it's kind of a cliche, but I don't think Heat culture is going to go out there and get embarrassed on their home floor twice in a row in the play-in tournament. I see the Heat kind of putting their foot down and beating a Bulls team that is really, look, they have some good players. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso. They have guys that can make things happen, but they are not a great team, and they are vulnerable. And I see the Heat taking advantage of those. I see a much better game for Bam Adebayo. And I see the Heat maybe in a world wanting the matchup with the Bucks. They've beaten them before. This is obviously not the same Miami Heat team that beat the Bucks back in 2020, but maybe they want the matchup. So I think I have the Heat winning this game against the Bulls. But either way, regardless if it's Bulls or Heat, I got Bucks in 4. I don't see them dropping a single game here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think regardless, I think the Heat probably take the match against the Bulls. They just match up well physicality-wise, and I think making things difficult, and also Jimmy Butler being a significant offensive threat, then maybe the Raptors are able to kind of summon together. Also, the Raptors missing like 16 free throws. I doubt the Heat do that. I mean, never say never, but I just don't see it. But yeah, with that being said, like by that same token, like the Bucks are going to have little resistance going through them. I have no doubt in my mind about that. So I see Bucks and Celtics just moving right on to the next round, in which we'll review when that round comes. But looking past that, I wanted to touch on those first before we go to Philadelphia and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Ron, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of feel like Brooklyn is very much in the same vein as the Heat / Bulls or the Hawks. In the case of like, yeah, they made the playoffs and that's great. I think in the Nets case, they made it primarily on the back of what KD and Kyrie did before. I think the Nets have been just 11-13 since the All-Star break, so it's definitely not like they've sustained that level of superb play. Philadelphia is just a bad matchup for them. I don't see how the Nets are able to really stay in a competitive situation against the squad.
Yeah, Nick Claxton probably going to need to have the series of his life if he wants, if the Nets are even going to steal a game or two here. The Nets are so fascinating because, when was the last time that a team in the top 4 of their conference sold at the deadline and tanked? Like, I can't even in my head fathom that. And it's so strange that they got there. And I get why they got there. And honestly, I agree with what the Nets chose to do this deadline. They got some really great pieces. They fully replenished their draft stock that they lost from the James Harden trade. Like, I fully get why the Nets did what they did. It leaves them in this weird spot this year where they were too good at the time to fall all the way to the lottery, but they are not good enough to win a playoff series.
Not in the slightest. Yep.
Because it's funny. I was talking with some people about this. The Nets, by trading their 2 superstars, they built a roster that would be perfect if they had a superstar. Like,
isn't that hilarious?
They built like my dream NBA roster minus the star, and maybe Mikal Bridges becomes that guy. Maybe he does. I don't really see anyone else on that team becoming that, but maybe he becomes that guy. But until that day comes, they are not ready. I have the Sixers in 5 here.
Yeah, honestly, I have them in a clean sweep.
Really?
I have a clean sweep.
You don't see the Nets stealing one?
I think it's possible. The Nets do, actually. You know what? Yikes, you might have talked me into it.
I think there's going to be at least one game where Mikal Bridges has, the game of his life, or Nicholas Claxton has something for Joel Embiid. Like, he's got to have something for him, right? Nicholas Claxton is one of the better defensive bigs in the league, and obviously there is no stopping Joel Embiid, the probable MVP of this season. But like, there's no stopping him. But Nicholas Claxton is one of the better, defenders in the league at the forward center position. So I want to give him some credit there, and I think they have enough to maybe steal a game. You're totally right. This could be a clean sweep, but I'm willing to give Brooklyn the gentleman's sweep here.
Yeah, no, you know what? The more I think about it, it's possible that it could happen. I will give the benefit of the doubt that Mikal Bridges goes supernova. Has one untouchable game, or like Nick Claxton and them cobble together a really good performance between him and Spencer Dinwiddie, who is flamed on Twitter. Yeah, Dinwiddie. That was so funny, man. That was like, I knew there was beef, but geez.
And Kyle Kuzma, he has it in him to be that ruthless.
Oh yeah.
But man, that Twitter thread had some of the greatest insults I've ever seen thrown from one player to
basketball, another. My boy had me dead.
It was unreal. And shout out to Kuzma. He is not in this year's playoffs, but he is in a way now.
Yeah, I was about to say he is now. Yeah, exactly. go Sixers. No, I'm definitely gonna go. Agree. I'm gonna go and say I'm going to say 5. I said 4 originally. I'm going to say 5 because at the end of the day, the Nets are a competent team. All you need is a bad shooting night, a night in foul trouble for Joel Embiid, some combination of the two, and you have that. So
I think the Sixers have more vulnerabilities than the Bucks, and I think the Nets are a more competent basketball team than the Bulls or the Heat. So I'm kind of combining that into maybe the Nets steal one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I like the math you're doing there. Like, okay, a
Yeah.
little bit of this, a little bit of that, it is possible. So I'm gonna agree with you on that for sure. Looking on from that matchup to an interesting one in the East, the Knicks and Cavs, the 4-5. I think the
This
Knicks and Cavs. That's a
the
fun one.
only interesting series.
Right,
It's the
right.
only
That's the only one. We've kind of flew through the rest of them. That's the only one. And I mean, the Knicks and Cavs clashed 3 times, or 4 times rather. The Knicks won 3 of them. The Cavs won the first matchup in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell put like a 38-point performance. The Knicks won every other one, but there was also absences on both sides, and injuries that also played into and factored into that. So you look at it now, both teams are coming in mostly healthy. Julius Randle is coming with that sprain. I think is a left ankle.
Yeah.
I imagine he'll play, but that probably will hamper him. So, with that being the stage set, what do you think, Ron, about what we have here with us before us?
This is fascinating because I think, at this point, we kind of it's weird. We almost have to do away with like the regular season series, like what happened in the regular season. It feels like it just doesn't really matter in a lot of these instances,
Mm,
just because players miss so many games nowadays, and I'm all for like preserving health for this, right? Like this is why teams preserve their players throughout the year so that we can get to these playoffs, and it seems like for the most part everyone's healthy.
yeah.
Like that's why we do it. So I'm cool with that. But it leaves me like I look back at these 4 matchups between the Knicks and the Cavs, and I'm like, I don't know that there's too much to take away from any of them. Like, yeah, the Knicks won 3 of them, but it's just hard to take anything significant away. So when I look at this series between these two teams, I'm fascinated because it's to me it's I don't know, it's not really a clash of styles,
Hmm.
but it is a little bit in a way because you have Donovan Mitchell, who is I think the most talented player in the series, just in terms of what he can do with the ball in his hands. I
Hmm.
think he's the most talented player, and generally, when I look at playoff series, I tend to side with which team is the most talented player.
Makes
Kind of way.
sense.
So my initial reaction is to lean Cavs, but the Knicks are fascinating because they have this is like their second really great regular season in like the Tom Thibodeau this team era,
Hmm.
and the first time the playoffs did not go super well for them.
No.
Julius Randle played poorly, RJ Barrett played poorly, and I am like instinctually thinking that's going to happen again. Just because Julius Randle is still kind of like he's better than he was a couple of years ago, but he's still like a tough shot maker
Hmm.
in terms of if the tough shots aren't falling, if the fadeaway threes aren't falling, he kind of like he has a tendency to kind of collapse his game a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but this team is a little bit older than they were. They're a little more mature, experienced than they were the first time around. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the more I look at it, the more I like Cleveland in this series. I think they're the more well balanced roster. I think they can do the most defensively and offensively. Like I think they have the most versatility in sort of the ways that they can beat you.
Hmm.
And when I look at it, Donovan Mitchell is the best player, and I always try to lean to which team has the best player in the series. So I have Cavs in 7.
Oh, okay.
Um, I I could see it going 6, Cavs in 6, but I think we need a couple like at least one first round series always goes to 7. So why can't this be that one?
I mean, I guess you're right. That makes a good point. I had the Cavs so much more favored.
You have
Personally,
them in 5?
yeah, I had them in 5. I just feel like the Knicks are coming in. They had a rough series when they were healthy. Mind you, Jalen Brunson brings a different dynamic at guard, but Julius Randle, like that, could hamper his mobility
Yeah.
significantly. And although he can shoot the three and has definitely become a more volume shooter, and that could get Evan Mobley out of a space he's comfortable in, defending more in space. Opening up the lane, going out to the 3 point line. I just think his effectiveness is limited, and so now you're putting more pressure on Jalen Brunson to consistently manufacture offense. Now you're putting more pressure on a guy like RJ Barrett, who's really been up and down his entire career. I was making an analogy of him to Andrew Wiggins um, on
Yeah.
another show. Just in terms of his entire level of play and consistent force or lack thereof, he comes at it. So I just feel like the Cavs have it. Also, the Knicks and Tibbs, they have a more traditional lineup, and so do the Cavs. But the Cavs have a unique-ish way of using it, whereas The Knicks, okay, with their bigs, if you bring in Mitchell Robinson or whatever, Isaiah Hartenstein, like you're going traditional drop. I don't know if you want to go drop, against Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Like that doesn't
It's
seem
not
like
going
the
to
right.
work.
Yeah, exactly. This ain't what you want, right? That's not the recipe for success. And so for that, all of that just being just the perfect storm for Cleveland in terms of matchups that I don't think the Knicks can adjust with as easily, and also the Knicks being a little shorthanded, I definitely have the Cavs in 5. But I could see it going longer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Now, Isaac Okoro, I think he's dealing with like a little. I was trying to confirm it because I remembered, but I didn't want to like say it if it wasn't true. I think Isaac Okoro is dealing with a little bit of a knee thing. I think he's going to
Oh,
play.
okay.
Like I don't think if he is limited, I do think RJ Barrett becomes an even bigger factor because I do think that matchup is very fascinating, the Okoro Barrett matchup. And if Okoro's not 100%, then it like puts even more pressure on RJ Barrett to be that guy if Julius Randle's not 100%. So I think there are just a lot of really interesting factors to the series, but you're right in that we could be hyping the series up because it's the only interesting one in the East, and the Cavs might just kind of have their way.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You're right. The Cavs is coming. We're like, oh, well, didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? Like that could happen. So,
And
yeah.
I generally like, and no disrespect to Tom Thibodeau, but Tom Thibodeau teams in the playoffs, it's not great. Like the track record's not great, right?
It's like Doc.
It's in, and it's because with Thibodeau, it's you spend your whole regular season running your 8-man rotation into the ground because that's what Tom Thibodeau does. He believes in his 8 or 9 guys at most, and he runs them into the ground. And what happens come playoff time is not only are your guys exhausted because they've been playing 37, 38 minutes a night for the whole season, now there's also a ton of tape on your guys. I think what's great about having depth in the regular season, if you look at a team like, I don't know, I'm trying to like think of a team off the top of my head, but if you look at a team like, let's even take Milwaukee, who dealt with the Chris Middleton injury for most of the year and kind of managing him, they had to go to a lot of different guys just to get through the regular season because they were doing a little bit more load management. And so if you're trying to review the tape on the Bucks, well, there's not as much of them at full strength. So you don't know as much what to expect. With New York, you kind of know what you're getting because there's so much tape on Jalen Brunson playing alongside RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. Like there's so much tape on it. And it's a little easier to game plan for. I think that's where Tom Thibodeau shoots himself in the foot a little bit. And it's kind of why he hasn't had the track record of success in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have Cleveland winning. I did put it in 7 because I do think New York has the talent to kind of go toe to toe, but I think Cleveland is going to out scheme the Knicks pretty handily.
Okay, I can totally get with that, and that's fair. I just feel like, yeah, the Knicks. Listen, they made the playoffs again. That's great. They're building onto something that's awesome. Great sign by Jalen Brunson, but yeah, this is where I think we say goodbye. The Knicks got to go fishing. Going to the West. Let's kind of ask the same question. Let's go to the top. Do you fear the Nuggets over the winner of Wolves versus Thunder?
No, the Nuggets. I have the Nuggets in 4, regardless of who wins that game.
Yeah, same. It's funny though.
I think Nuggets Timberwolves would be more fun, just for the Tim Connolly of it all. Like you leave the Nuggets to go to the Timberwolves. You make this trade that we probably don't need to go into because it's been
just horrendous. Yeah,
been talked about ad nauseum at this point. But I do like that kind of storyline that Tim Connolly faces the Nuggets with his roster that he built that like no one likes. So I think that's interesting. But I also kind of like the young Thunder like making a name for themselves and making the playoffs. I think that'd be really great experience for the Thunder. Like, yeah, they'd get swept.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
They'd get swept. They are not nearly the team that Denver is. But I think them making the playoffs and getting swept would be huge for Shea and Giddey and Jalen Williams and like this young core that they're building. Like they have a really interesting team. And I think in like 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons, we're going to be talking about them as like championship contenders.
Yeah.
And becoming a championship contender through a homegrown team starts with moments like this. It starts with being the surprise team that makes the playoffs as the 8 seed and gets absolutely pummeled in the first round. Like, that's how it starts. That's how like those types of teams build. And so I'm hoping it's them just for that storyline. But yeah, I think either way, the Nuggets in 4.
It's no, I'm with you. I think it'd be fun. You're right. I think it would be fun to have a Wolves matchup. Only because I think of the Thanos, like you couldn't live with your own failure kind of line. Like it's hilarious, but no, I exactly like instantly popped in my brain. But no, I agree with you. I think there's not really a whole lot to be said there. For the Wolves, yeah, it's a good step in the right direction. Continuing that on, you know, you went against a team that was a young upstart in Memphis last year. Now you're going against like a more established vet. It gives you more of a through the fire kind of process. If you're Anthony Edwards, like there's some
Anthony Edwards needs this. He
yeah.
does, because he very badly underperformed in that play-in game against the Lakers. He did not look good at all. And I think he needs to go into this play-in game with sort of like the superstar mentality of like it's cool if I go, you know, 3 for 17. I'm going to do it again. Like, I'm going to keep fighting and I'm going to keep getting better. And I hope for his sake that he is able to have a great game, win or lose, against the Thunder.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's something to hold your head up high, even if you went down. It's a learning experience because you want to have another step in your progression. And it's a different challenging element, a different layer than it was before, but still something he can like look toward building upon. So definitely with you on that. Going to the second round, I think that's actually more interesting. It's not really like it's that easy. Lakers, you're the Lakers guy. I mean, we're Lakers fans, but Lakers Nation, Lakers versus Grizzlies. I only caught a little bit of Laker Nation's actual coverage of that, or like their preview of it. But I have the Lakers Nation guy here in the front. I'm gonna let you take it away. What are your thoughts here?
This is a fascinating series.
Right?
The Lakers are going to need to make this the ugliest series you've ever seen. They cannot allow the Grizzlies to kind of run all over them. You know, the Grizzlies, Ja Morant has had success against the Lakers. Ja Morant is the type of guy that always has success against the Lakers. And I think D'Angelo Russell, we don't know if he's 100%. Dennis Schroeder is definitely not 100%. He's playing, but he's not 100%. Defensively, them guarding Ja Morant is going to be interesting. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I think this is, well, actually, I think the most intriguing first round series overall is, we haven't talked about it yet. I think the most evenly matched first round series we haven't talked about yet. But this is up there. This is a really fascinating, really evenly matched series. And I think for the Lakers to win, they're going to need to kind of muck it up and make it ugly and force the Grizzlies to play in like defensive battles. Because this Lakers team, as good as they've been since the break, since the trade deadline, they do have a tendency to get stagnant offensively. They do have a tendency to kind of have these scoring droughts, be a little too LeBron reliant to make something happen. The storyline about forcing the ball to Anthony Davis the whole year has kind of been a thing, and they're going to be trying to do that here, especially since the Grizzlies don't have Steven Adams. And I think it's going to take a game or two for the Lakers to figure out how to force the ball into Anthony Davis's hands, because that's just how it's been for them all year. They've struggled with this. So I think the Lakers are kind of going to need to make it a slower paced, uglier battle. If they try to get into a run and gun match with the Grizzlies, I do think the Grizzlies are the better run and gun team at this point, mainly because LeBron, Anthony Davis, Dennis Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell, these guys are not the perfect picture of health at any of these stages in their careers. Mo Bamba is the same way. Like, there's not enough health reliability on the Lakers side to where they can afford to get into high speed, high pace, scoring output battles with the Grizzlies. They're going to need to slow it down. So prediction, I do have the Lakers in 6. It feels almost like too many people are saying that.
Yeah, right? You said it does.
It feels like that's too popular a pick to actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we're heading for a 2021 Lakers Suns where everyone hypes the Lakers up and then one person gets injured and the Grizzlies
House of Cards.
just make it easy. So I do see a world where the Grizzlies win. Absolutely. This is a close series. I have the Lakers in 6 because what do I always go back to? Which team has the best player?
Yep.
And I think at their best, the Lakers have the 2 best players in this series. And so if everyone's at their best, I have the Lakers.
No, I'm with you. It's tough. I thought the exact same thing you said. I've been thinking the exact same thing. Like, everyone's saying it, and we've seen this song before. Yes, but at the same time, I just think that I think that it's the mix of having LeBron and AD for the Lakers, and also the fact that, Brandon Clark really gave the Lakers problems, right? Like, Brandon Clark gave the Lakers problems, not to the extent that John Morant has and will give the Lakers, but he's given the Lakers some issues, and he's not there, and that's important. I think that, with the absence of him, it makes it a little bit more difficult for the Lakers for the Grizzlies to be able to match up in terms of the sheer athleticism and size that you need to combat against AD. AD's had monster games against the Grizzlies. Some of that, yes, on Jaren Jackson Jr., who will battle foul trouble. But also, when Jaren Jackson's on the court, he was doing that to Brandon Clark and to Xavier Tillman. Well, now you took Brandon Clark out entirely. Also, Steven Adams isn't there at all.
It's a lot of Xavier Tillman.
Exactly. That's just a
lot of Xavier Tillman in the series.
Exactly.
And as much as I like Xavier Tillman, I think he's a solid player. He is no match for Anthony Davis.
There's levels to it.
There's levels. And Jaren Jackson Jr., as great of a defender as he is not my defensive player of the year pick. I just want to throw it out there. He may win. He's not my pick. I will not be happy if he wins. But he's gonna get into foul trouble. He can't help himself. No. As much as I think Taylor Jenkins said something like, we're gonna keep Jaren Jackson out of foul trouble. You can't. Jaren Jackson, let's go back to Thanos. Jaren Jackson foul trouble is inevitable.
It's inevitable.
It will happen. Like, we are this is we live in a world where Jaren Jackson Jr. fouls. And I think that's gonna happen. That's where I see the Lakers having the advantage and being able to pull ahead in this series and win in 6. The way the Grizzlies win for me is if they can outrun the Lakers. John Morant, if Dylan Brooks plays much better than he has played against the Lakers this season. If their guards are at their best, Desmond Bane, if their guards are at their best and putting pressure on the Lakers' perimeter defenders, then I think the Grizzlies can win this series. If Jared Vanderbilt does not do a great job covering John Morant, which is possible. Jared Vanderbilt is great, but he's John Morant's a really great player, and he might be able to have success even against a guy like Jared Vanderbilt. I can see the Grizzlies winning, but I do have the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. I just feel like the matchups are unique. It's intriguing. No, knock on wood for no injuries, of course, but honestly, yeah, it could go separate ways, but I'm going to go with the Lakers as well. I think you gave an excellent breakdown of that, and I don't know. I think that I need this to be a D'Lo series. I just need him to be redeemed for his free agency for us, huh?
D'Lo did not look good in the playing game.
No, he did not. It was shades of last year on Minnesota.
Yeah, and
he
D'Lo,
didn't have it.
I don't know what it is with him in the postseason. He did this with Brooklyn as well, his All-Star year. He was not great in that series, if I recall. I may be completely, but I don't remember him being good. And so I don't know what it is with him, but he kind of needs to show himself as a better playoff performer than he's been.
Yeah, please. I mean, especially if the Lakers are looking to bring him back long term, this is good for him and it's good for the Lakers. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but the hope is that he steps up, and I think there's a golden opportunity for him to put some pressure on John Morant on the defensive side of the ball, very similar to what we saw Pat Beverly do to John Morant for that brief moment, like where he just kept going at him last year. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yes, moving on from there, let's get to one that's a little more interesting, a little more a little more interesting, a little more meat on the bones, I guess. Even though I think it feels kind of transparent, like it could go so many different ways, but I feel it's going to go one way, and that is the Suns versus the Clippers. We're gonna get to the real series I'm excited about in a minute. I think we're all for the
what I
line with that.
meant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you
yes,
knew.
I do. I totally do, but we're gonna build up to that. We're gonna get to the Suns and Clippers first. I can't wait to get the next one though. But yeah, Suns Clippers. I mean, all their games they've had significant injuries. They weren't whole. They didn't have certain players, so none of that really counts. But I mean, it all counts to the regular season, but none of it counts to how we look at this series now.
Yeah.
How do you look at this one, Ron? Because honestly, like I think the Clippers, if they get a good Russ performance and some bench guys step up, they're there. But I don't see this really being one that I don't know. I think there's potential for it to go a longer series, but I don't see this being a series that the Clippers walk away winners.
Yeah, the Paul George of it all is really difficult. I don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, he won't be at 100%. And as much as the Clippers have a quality roster with good stars and some really solid depth, they are no match for the Suns to me. I think the Suns now. I have separate issues with the Suns that we can get into if we go deeper into the playoffs here.
Okay, yeah, we have to bring you. Yeah, we're gonna do this again.
in this series in particular, I don't think the Suns' flaws are going to show themselves that much. I think the sheer star power at the top of their lineup is going to be too much for the Clippers to handle. I think defensively, Chris Paul is going to force every bad habit that Russell Westbrook has ever had out of him. Like Chris Paul is a pest, and Chris Paul is a guy that really frustrates players and referees and everyone that watches basketball.
That is true.
But it's because he's great. Like he has obviously not, he's starting to hit the decline a little bit, but I think the decline is showing itself more offensively and less in terms of what he can bring in terms of his brain, his IQ. Chris Paul is still one of the smartest players in the league today, and he's one of the smartest players of the last generation of players. And he knows Russell Westbrook, right? Like they have shared a conference for a very long time. He knows Russell Westbrook, and he knows where Russell Westbrook's flaws are, and I think he's going to expose every last one of them. And I have Suns in 5, maybe 6, but I'm leaning 5 just because I think everywhere the Clippers are good, the Suns are better.
I mean, and that's fair. I would agree with that. I am gonna go Suns in 5 as well. I wanted to say Suns in 6, but you're right. I'm really. I mean, you know how I've been about Russell Westbrook all my life, right? Not my life. Actually, it's funny. I keep saying all my life like I've been a lifelong Russ fan. I only became a Russ fan once KD left him. But that's been half a decade now at this point, which is hilarious. They were asking Russ and KD about each other and the rivalry and stuff, and it was funny. Both that's so long ago.
It's been 7 years.
Yes,
we've all moved on. I don't understand why people keep asking about the Russ KD thing. I've moved on from the Russ KD thing. I'm sure they have too.
It's funny. Yeah, I need to hear it from Russ. If Russ had said he hadn't moved on, I wouldn't have moved on, but he did. I'm just kidding.
I got to hear it from the source.
You got to hear from the source. I no beef.
7 years. They have both played on 3 or more teams since then.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
They've become journeymen. I mean, Kevin Durant's obviously incredible. But Russell Westbrook has become a journeyman, and that's insane.
And KD's on his Shaq.
Yeah,
KD's on his Shaq jersey.
He's going Boston next.
I mean, you never know. No, I'm playing.
He's just crossing them off.
Yeah, because I mean, it's Oklahoma City, Golden State, Brooklyn, Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's not super bad. It's still a lot.
And then Russ, since OKC, has been
Houston, Washington, Lakers, Clippers. So 5 teams?
Yeah, 5 teams,
Both
but
the
in
5
5
and 4.
years.
5 years. Yeah, it's gonna look
5
bad
teams in
on
5 years, whereas KD was Golden State for 3. Yeah, Golden State for 3, Brooklyn for 2.5,
and
and now Phoenix.
We'll see how long that goes. That is so interesting. Wow.
Yeah, Russ is 5 teams in 4.5 years. 5 years.
It was so you didn't even realize it how quick it was. But you're right. If you play a different year of 2K, he's on a different team.
Yeah, he was only in Houston for 1 year, which is insane because like that Houston team is so memorable because they were the team that said we don't employ centers. Like
yes,
that was the team where they said in order for Russ and James Harden to work together, we can't have a center on the roster,
which is insane to think
about. They traded Clint Capella to the Hawks and said, we're running no centers the rest of the year. It's one of the most fascinating team experiments I've ever seen, and it blew up exactly the way we all thought it was going to.
It did. It hit a wall. It was hilarious, like seeing the Lakers front court and then Robert Covington trying to man the middle. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Robert Covington and PJ Tucker are like, all right, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, like, what do we do? We can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man, that was hilarious. Huh?
The Lakers were just getting every rebound that series.
Yeah, they were. It was just, oh my goodness, that was a mess. That was sad, and the edit, I feel so bad. Some of it Russ's own fault, the way he gets, and some of it just I don't want to say the fans make him look bad, but remember when he was scoring in the bubble and he was yelling at the crowd, and fans and the kids,
yelling at babies, dude. And this is the thing about Russ, like this is like that side of Russ is I think who Chris Paul is going to expose. Because Chris Paul knows that this is Russ. Chris Paul knows it perhaps better than like 95% of NBA players. He knows that this is Russ.
Oh, it kills me.
If he pushes the right buttons at the right time, it's gonna be bad for Russ.
It's gonna be bad for Russ. Oh, it's gonna be so bad. I'm a laugh, but I remember every time I see that, I'm like, poor Russ. Like, don't you know what you're doing, my guy?
Yelling at children.
Yelling at children. That was a mess. Oh my goodness! But yeah,
yelling at Rajon Rondo's brother, just like full beef with Rajon Rondo's brother,
which is the most random of all. I will say one thing: I'm glad the Lakers experience put to rest is even what I thought would never be broken, which is the Russell Westbrook Pat Beverly beef.
I'm glad they squashed that. I'm really glad they squashed that, and they're both on different teams. And
there you go. Never have to worry about it anymore. Yeah, exactly.
It's my dream scenario. They're friends and they don't play for my team anymore. My dream scenario.
I get to go back to rooting for Russell Westbrook while also being happy he's on my team. Like this is something I'm fond of as well. So I'm with you. Yeah, what a delight. But let's go to our final one. Yeah, our final matchup, the one we've been waiting for. We literally saved the best for last on purpose, and that is the Golden State Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings. I cannot wait for this matchup. And I tell you, I cannot wait. Ron, I know you're right there with me. This is going to be a lot of fun. Well, let's just get your thoughts. Let's go into this.
I might watch a higher percentage of the minutes of this series than I do Lakers Grizzlies. Like,
I wouldn't fault you for it.
I think I'm going to watch 100% of the minutes of this series because it is so fun. Like, it is so unbelievably fun. And honestly, like, I don't even like these are not. I don't really consider either of these teams championship contenders. I think the Warriors, they've lost some of their depth that made them a championship team last year. They've lost a bit of that depth. There's been just too much uncertainty, instability throughout the year. Like they're getting Andrew Wiggins back, but like he has not played this whole year. Like they have to reintegrate him. Gary Payton, obviously they're still working to like get him integrated into the flow of things. He missed a ton of time after the trade. Like there's just more uncertainty with the Warriors this year than there was last year. But even if they're both not championship contenders, this is fascinating. I absolutely love these two teams. They are both fun to watch. We get to see the home Warriors and the road Warriors, who are two completely different NBA franchises.
Oh, completely. It's lovely.
They're not the same team, even though they employ the same players, the same head coach. They are not the same basketball team.
Oh, boy.
And Sacramento, I think if there was a team that their strategy, like the way they play basketball, which is effectively, and I don't know if it was intentional, but effectively it's become we have to outscore our opponent because we can't stop them. They got a 3 seed on the back of just outscoring everyone and being this insane efficient offense. And obviously normally that doesn't go well when the playoffs come around. But
not really,
I think against this Warriors team, this is kind of the matchup that it almost works for, because I mean, outside of Steph and Clay, and Poole, outside of their 3-headed monster at guard, I don't know that the offensive production on the Warriors side is so elite the way it might have looked last year. So I think it's really fascinating for that reason.
No, I think you're right. I think it's funny, like you said, it's like a mirror image of each other, right? First of all, like Light the Beam, shout out to the Kings fan base, like shout out to even the Twitter fireworks that happen right now between the two fan bases are hilarious, man. Like, right. Just the funniest thing. Yes, exactly. But like, this is gonna be just a delight to watch. Like the sheer offensive basketball is gonna happen, the cross matching, the adjusting. You know, like what do the Warriors do to contain De'Aaron Fox, right? How does Mike Brown kind of scheme against, the Warriors' attempts to, totally kind of hem Domantas Sabonis in, right? Which other players step up? Uh-huh.
And Mike Brown knows this Warriors team obviously very, very well.
He's built yes.
Maybe he can push the right buttons here. He's going to be the coach of the year. He'll be able to push the right buttons. And it's interesting. You talk about how are the Warriors going to contain De'Aaron Fox? I wonder if the way to contain De'Aaron Fox is to make him do more. Like there's an argument to be made that De'Aaron Fox is at his best when he can drive and kick, when he can drive and score at the rim, when he doesn't have to do as much iso ball, when he can kind of work within the flow of the offense, get the ball to open shooters, find pockets for his athleticism to really shine. But I think if he's iso the whole time, I think that hurts the Kings. And I wonder if the way to contain De'Aaron Fox is just to make him play one-on-one every time.
Yeah, probably. You're right.
Off everybody else like that. It's an interesting thing. I can't wait to see what Steve Kerr and Mike Brown have for each other.
Yeah, tire him out, kind of make something happen there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. I think. I'm trying to think of one thing that. Okay, what is your? Let me ask this question. What is like the most important? Like, what's the most important thing that you're looking for, or the most exciting thing you're looking for? For me, I definitely want to see the backups. Like Malik Monk, I need a Malik Monk stretch. I need a Malik Monk series. Like I need it in my veins. That was my favorite Laker last year. Like I need him to have like one of those moments. But also, like let's get. I want a 3 that gets Mark Jones on the call, Kings on a run. A swing sequence, get a wide open 3. Let Mark Jackson just let the crowd do their work, take us to the commercial break. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like,
this is definitely like a injected into my veins series.
Yeah, it's just right
for sure.
Like, let's go.
I think the one thing I'm fascinated to see is the Draymond Sabonis matchup.
Yes.
Because it is a real tale of strength on strength and weakness on weakness.
Very true.
You have one of the most skilled and intelligent offensive bigs in the league, probably a top, I don't know, like top 7 4? 5 to 7 offensive big in the league. In terms of just,
I'm getting. Yeah. I got mixed up. I said top 4. I'm thinking defensively with
Draymond.
Didn't even realize what you're talking about. Yeah,
but it's the exact point, right? Like you have probably a top 5 to 7 offensive big man and a top 5 defensive player in the NBA matching up. And then on the other side of the court, it's like they're both bad. Like they're both, it's not even like, it's not their strong suit. Like Draymond Green is an offensive, like he's useless offensively for the most part. Like he pretty much, his only worth on the offensive end for the Warriors is if he is the ball at the high post and everyone else is just running around him, and then he makes a decision with the ball. But if they're not in that setup where he's at the high post and Steph and Clay and Poole and Wiggins and whoever are just setting off-ball pick after off-ball pick, elevator screens, flare screens, all this stuff to get each other open for Draymond to do. He is not really effective offensively. He kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
And Domantas Sabonis is not a very good defender. Mm-mm. So it's I think they're going to be glued at the hip the entire series because like there's nowhere else for either of them to go that makes any sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think they're going to be glued to each other the entire series, and I really want to see the battle back and forth between them.
No, that's going to be fun to watch. You're right. I think the chess match between the two, I'm excited just for the old friends to come together in terms, like you said, Kerr and Brown. They know each other. They both, it's hilarious. I was making a joke how together they probably were mad at, the Warriors transition defense, back in the day, right? And now they're on separate teams and they're both angry at their respective teams' inability to defend in transition while both knowing to push the pace to attack the other in transition. Like, it's going to be a blast. And one I cannot wait for. I am so excited for it.
You cannot blink during this series. I think the offenses are going to be moving at rates you've never seen before.
Yeah, yes. It's going to be the 3-pointer is going to be a plan. Like, this might be the one where, like, in the regular season, like in the postseason, it plays like the regular season. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some tight minutes down the stretch, and the crowd's gonna be into it. I'm ready for it. This one is the one. I think it's so Saturday.
Ready for a Sacramento home playoff game. Like, how fun is that? That's I know big markets dominate, yada yada yada, whatever. A Sacramento Kings home playoff game is good for the NBA. You can't tell me otherwise.
There's no one's telling you anything about. You're right. Like, there was no way. And also, like, I'm gonna have my popcorn ready if it's Saturday morning. Like, it's not gonna be Saturday morning; it's gonna be Saturday evening. I'm gonna be like a kid watching the cartoons with a bowl of cereal. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's go.
Yeah, the games before the Saturday schedule is Nets, Sixers, Hawks, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs. Those are appetizers. Those are the bread. That's the free bread you get. All in preparation for Warriors Kings in the nightcap.
It's gonna be a mess. I'm pumped, man. I cannot wait. Like, let's go. Let's bring it tomorrow.
Now, what's the prediction though? Because we didn't, and all the excitement.
We didn't, and I almost wish we still couldn't.
I don't want either of these teams to go. I want them. I just want to have fun watching both of them play basketball for the next 3 months.
Exactly. Let's in perpetual. Just keep it going. If I had to pick, yikes, I don't like to. I'm gonna say Warriors in 6. I think at the end of the day, someone has to play defense, and therein lies the problem for one of those two teams. Like, the Warriors selectively, if they're not at home, can decide to play defense. Like, it's like driving a car and you're like, let's go on a race, and both teams are gonna go on a race, and both teams have like great engines, and it's like, let's go, and they're both fun, they're both going, and yeah, you don't have to stop the other team per se, but you're racing to the end of a cliff, and one person has to stop on the brakes. At the end of the day, like, the Warriors' brakes are kind of squeaky, and they may scare you a little bit more than you want in certain terrain, but they will stop. And the Kings know they ain't got no brakes, so let's go. We're just gonna beat you to the end. But at the end of the day, you're going to get to a part where you just don't got the breaks, and that's going to make you pay. And I think that's exactly where the Kings are going to meet.
The Warriors have Draymond Green. They have Andrew Wiggins. Like, they have Kevon Looney. They have people who can get a stop in a big moment. And Gary Payton. And I look at the Kings roster, and I don't see where their big defensive stop is coming from. Like, the way I look at it is, if it's crunch time and the Warriors have the ball up 1, the Kings cannot stop them. The Warriors will score. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough for me to pick the Kings as much as I'm excited about them. Like, the Malik Monk Jordan Poole matchup is so fun. Like, that's just fun.
Blast. Yeah.
It's high flying. It's ridiculous. It's going to be great. But yeah, I do think the Warriors win in 6. I agree with you completely, just because when it comes down to it, the Warriors have guys that can go get a stop, and I don't believe the Kings have that guy.
No, I don't think they do either. But it's going to be such a blast to watch, and just, I don't know. Like you said, when we come back, we're going to have to do this again, Ron. When we come back for the second round, and we talk about the winner of this one, and bemoan the fact that one of these teams moved on,
it's going to be so sad.
It's going to be so sad, yes, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And you know what? transition. I'm the transition king here. What else is a lot of fun was this show?
Always fun. Always fun.
Always, man. I appreciate you coming on and just talking, playoffs with me, kind of bouncing around. I think we did a nice job of touching on the main points of these and what to look forward to and what we're looking forward to specifically. Speaking of looking forward, I want to let people listen to what you have coming up or where they can find you in your work, and what you're doing as we kind of get into the playoffs in full force here.
Yeah, I mean, I will be covering the Lakers side of things on Lakers Nation. As always, I'll be doing some live streams of games on playback. I'll be doing live post-game shows. I'll be doing podcast episodes there. I also will, for baseball fans, I'll also be, covering the Dodgers as they go through the regular season here. It's early going, but yeah, I'll be there at almost every game. So it's a lot of sports for me in the next few months. I'm very excited.
There we go. I'm about to say this is the perfect timeline right now for you, Ron. Like, you're doing it all, you're having it all.
Every day I get to cover a sport, and it's a dream.
That's a blast, man. I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy to be friends with someone who knows all the sports I can glean off of. Baseball, I'm getting there, but basketball, absolutely.
Baseball's fun. Baseball's fun. Don't let them tell you baseball's boring.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best not to. I'm a Phillies guy, but it's been years since I watched.
Yeah, I look. I know a lot of people don't love baseball, but and we could save this spiel for another day, but I have a big spiel about why baseball's awesome, and people should watch it more.
You know what I was going to say? We'll start our next show talking about it.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a plan, man. Make sure to check out Ron on Twitter at Ron Gutterman24 and everything that he does for sure. Baseball is fun. He'll tell you more about it next time. That's our tease. You can find me on Twitter at Corban NBA. Check out my work there. I just dropped a piece for Swish Theory on the GM tenure of Bob Whitsitt and everything that he did and undid for the Joe Blazers era. So definitely make sure to check that out. But until next time, y'all, enjoy the playoffs. By the time you listen to this, we'll be playing games. The final two will be happening and playoffs the next day. It's going to be a blast. Enjoy that. But for Ron, for myself, we are Frosty. Y'all stay frosty. And we'll both talk to y'all real soon. All right, y'all.